Hey, this is Logan over at CGN, helping you go from craftsman to businessman. Today I'm going to be walking you through exactly how to give over-the-phone estimates and sell over the phone. Jumping in, why do we actually want to sell over the phone and pre-qualify over the phone? Biggest thing here is you, the contractor, you have to get on the exact same page as the homeowner. My dad actually started all this stuff where he would get a phone call from somebody, he's a pond and water feature contractor, and they would say, hey Steve, could you come out here and give me an estimate? I've got a smaller pond with some small rocks. And he would get out there and it was a project that was 10 times the size of his normal project, right? He would just use all hand tools and they would have, small rocks that were 20,000 pounds. So he would go out there and realize, I can't even do this work. So you got to get on the same page as the homeowner going out there. And the second thing is, you are, 99% of you watching this, you're in a visual industry. It's way easier to sell and pre-qualify and give estimates for everything if the homeowner is actually seeing what you're seeing when you give them ballpark numbers. Because if you give them a blanket, oh, it's going to cost $100,000, they got to visualize what they're about to spend $100,000 on. I'm going to walk through, it's going to go website first, then Pinterest, then Facebook, because that's essentially from easiest to hardest to sell from. And I'll show you exactly why. So the first one that we're going to go through is going to be your website. All right, this right here is actually a website that we built. The whole way that it's supposed to work is there are these visuals throughout the page where essentially what they're thinking about when they want to buy, let's say, for example, a kitchen or get a kitchen remodel is the homeowner's not just thinking about what kind of countertops and what kind of cabinets they can get. They're also thinking about why they want to get it, right? People don't buy a Mercedes simply to get from point A to point B. They do it because they can get from point A to point B with other people knowing that they're rich and they're wealthy and it has a status piece to it as well. That's no different than what you're selling here. So right now, we have this set up where you are supposed to have the homeowner literally just read this first paragraph and they're going to say, okay, great. Your kitchen is the heart of your home. It's where you cook for friends and family, prepare meals, and share stories over dinner. But it's also where you do all the cleaning up after those dishes are done. All right? And all you're going to say is, great, do me a favor. Tell me what are your thoughts around that. And then they're going to say either, yep, that makes total sense. But most likely what they're going to do is explain, you know what, you're totally right. We do cook a lot, we prepare a lot of meals. Essentially what we're doing is we're asking people to read a little bit that puts a visual in their head and then essentially saying, great, what does that mean to you? And it's no different than what really a therapist does, where a therapist just goes, well, how does that make you feel? Tell me more about that. That's why people go to therapy. This is therapy, but it's done in a way that you're essentially trying to understand how the homeowner is going to use their kitchen. But instead of you telling them, you're essentially going to ask them to read something and then spit it back to you in their own words. And now the sale is happening because you're not trying to hammer them down with features and things like that of the kitchen. You're essentially asking them to throw up all over you in a good way. That's how this whole thing is meant to be. So on the website, you're going to go through this, right? Let's talk about how you want to use the kitchen. Read this section. Great. Tell me how you feel. And they're going to spew pain and spew pleasure, and essentially they're going to sell themselves during this process. Now we're going to ask them to scroll down a little bit. And we're going to say, great, now let's go through. Those are the most popular kitchen remodeling upgrades that people get. Do any of these stand out to you? And then now, remember, we don't want to feel like we're having to upsell them. Let them bring it out. Oh, I would love a wine fridge, and I would actually love, to do some more storage spaces based on what we're seeing here. All right, so all you're doing is, this is almost like a menu, like a menu that you're going down and saying, great, read this section, what are your thoughts? Great, read this section, what are your thoughts? Read this section, what are your thoughts? And it's all done in a way where you're essentially making this website the jump off point, and all you got to do is just ask them, tell me more. All right, what do you mean by that? How so? And they're going to give you all the information that you need. You're writing down notes the whole time. So as they're explaining everything that you need, or that they want, and you're writing all that stuff down, once you get all the information, so you've essentially built up and designed in your head what their kitchen is going to look like, you're going to scroll down a little bit more and have them scroll down, and then you're going to say, great, let's talk about how do we actually make it happen, just ballparking it. There's 3 basic steps. Phone call, we do the work, now you love your kitchen. You're at step 1 right now. All right, now, but before we can move past step 1, we got to talk about one more thing together. And they're going to say, what is that? And you're going to say, scroll down a little bit more. And that's where we get to the renovation prices. And here you get one of two options. Either you shut up and you let them fill the space, or two, you say, do me a favor, read those sections, like read those descriptions, tell me where you think you fall. And they're going to read them all. They're going to say, well, and 9 times out of 10 what ends up happening is people say, well, I was thinking about 95 grand, but based on what I'm seeing here, I'm probably closer to that 110. And you know, based on what you wrote down, are they actually at 110 or not? So you didn't have to pull the budget out of them. You essentially let this guide them to tell you what their budget is. And it's all because you went first. So if you hammer them on the pricing and say, well, this is what it's going to cost, that's fine, but let this thing do the heavy lifting for you. All right? That is how you sell using this website. All right? You've essentially now, at this point, established exactly what they want. You've gotten them to list out all the upgrades that they want, so you're not having to badger them on upsells. Plus, you're not having to do all these change orders once you get into the house to do the project. They know the basic process and they know the pricing. And now, based on that, you can either A, go out there to collect a deposit check, or B, you both walk away because they were actually not at this number that we're seeing here. They were closer to 30 grand, and you can't do anything for less than 79. That is how you use this website to, in the very least, give a strong estimate over the phone. All right, now flipping over to Pinterest. Pinterest is a really good one to sell from if you don't have a website set up in that way. Pinterest is fantastic for 2 reasons. One, most of your clients probably already, it's going to be typically the wife, age anywhere from 35 to 60, and they already got a Pinterest board. All right, it's like Pinterest is that big. So this is not going to be foreign to your client. This is going to be something that they're already using, and there's a good chance that they could actually send you over their Pinterest board that you're able to look at. The second reason why Pinterest is great is it's essentially Google, but for images. All right, they got Google Images, but as you can see here, when we lay it out and type in kitchen remodeling, they give you different styles because Pinterest is pretty smart, so it's a really nice user interface. All right, now the negative of Pinterest is that unlike with the website, there's no pricing. There's no process. Essentially, you're kind of out in the ether trying to use other people's photos and things like that to sell your work. Now, it's still good to go, and you should still 100% use it if you don't have one of the websites that we have, because you're still adding numbers to a visual. Now, the whole caveat to this is if you don't know your numbers at all, meaning if I pull up let me just pull up a photo here, and if I click on that, and it's a really elegant looking kitchen, and I say, ballpark it for me, what would that cost? And if you go, well, I don't know, I would have to go out there and measure it and this and that, then this is not going to work that well. You got to know your numbers on this stuff, because a lot of this is all confidence, right? We're not trying to give hard numbers, meaning, well, this is the exact number, but you should be able to look at this and go, okay, based on your kitchen that you told me about and this photo, this is probably going to be about 125 grand. So I digress, but that's a big part of this, is knowing you're able to kind of spitball them a basic ballpark figure pretty quickly. Now, the way that Pinterest is going to work is you're going to have them, let's say, first click on what style do you want. Let's say they actually go with, oh, I want to use Southwestern. Great, let's click on that, and now you're going to have them, you're going to say, great, do me a favor, are we both looking at the same page? Yes, we are. All right, let's scroll down a little bit, and I want you to find a kitchen that you love. And let's say they go, oh, I love this, the high ranch style home. And I'm going to say, okay, great, let's click on that one together. Oh, sorry about that. And then now we're going to go through it together, the same way that we did it on the website, but instead of having cues that they pick up on, I'm going to ask them, hey, what do you like about this kitchen? Oh, I like this, this, and this. Oh, tell me more about that. Or what do you mean by that? Essentially, I'm asking them a basic question, open-ended question, and then I'm asking them to clarify what they mean even more. Again, we're going through it all, but now I'm getting them to explain why they want that. Oh, I really like that island. Okay, well, tell me more about that. What do you like about the island? Well, I like that if you see that there's a stool there, there's, potentially it's a great breakfast bar and this and this and this. I'm going to go, oh, okay, great. Do you plan on using the breakfast bar? Tell me more about that. Oh, well, yeah, actually, I have kids, and so now they're essentially painting that picture in their head again. All right, you don't have those cues that you can use like you did on the website, but you can still pull a lot of this out of them simply by asking them about that, like what they like about that photo. And then from here, when we want to go through the pricing, instead of scrolling down and saying, well, what do you think about the pricing? Now we're going to have to say, you see that kitchen right there? That's a $90,000 kitchen. Now, they may have sticker shock. They may not have sticker shock. All right? But if you notice, what we did was I didn't say, hey, for this kitchen, I'm going to have to charge you $90,000. I said, that is a $90,000 kitchen, which takes the blame off me, the contractor, and puts the blame on that kitchen. So now they're not mad at me for it being 90 grand, which is way above their price point. They're mad at the actual kitchen itself. And let's say maybe they go, well, it's way too much. You know, you just stay quiet. And if they, well, can you do it lower? And it's like, look, trust me, if I could do this lower than 90,000, I would. That's a $90,000 kitchen though. So again, it's almost you're on the same team as them and you're fighting against the price point of that kitchen. But because you have a visual here, now you get to blame the kitchen. You're not blaming yourself. Let's look at a couple more kitchens. Give me another one. Oh, I like this one here. Okay, great. What do you like about this one? Well, I like the sink. All right, awesome. I love that sink too. Tell me more about what you like about it. Things like that. That's how you're going to use Pinterest as a whole. Last one we're going to look at is going to be Facebook. All right, Facebook is probably the most difficult one because it's not as visual and it's not as stimulating as it can be. Facebook's a really good way, a really good place to bring people into your world, but to actually sell from. I'm literally showing you how to do this because there's a lot of contractors out there that use Facebook as like their sales tool. So it's not that easy to sell from, but I'm showing you this because most of you are doing it this way. Hopefully, and the best thing for your business is to upgrade to Pinterest or just simply upgrade to the website, which is going to be the easiest path, but I'll show you where you're at right now. So with the Facebook, you got to do it yourself, right? You don't want to show somebody else's Facebook. You want to show yours, but you can show projects that you're doing. All right, and that's cool. Show those things, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to be the contractor that says, oh, I can do work like that for you. Let me text it to you. Because that is such a bad, it's not professional at all. Like when we're using the website and stuff, there's so many little factors here that you may not pick up on. Because what they're going to do is they're going to scroll up and down your page as you're talking to them, and they're going to see the customer reviews, and they're going to see all the certifications that you have, right? There's a lot of little subtle things that's making the sale for you without you realizing it. You don't really have that on, you don't have it on Facebook or Pinterest, but if you're going to use the Facebook, you got to prime this thing yourself. All right, and that is showing photos of the work, talking about the emotions behind it. You know, like what are we doing here? What does this look like? So Facebook is going to be the hardest one. If you post a lot of your work there, the plus side is at least you're showing your work, but the downside is now they're potentially going to go down the rabbit hole that is Facebook. All right, and it doesn't look as visually appealing. You essentially, at least with Pinterest, it's a bunch of pretty photos. It's almost like walking out to somebody's house with like a portfolio or a brochure book, which is pretty nice. So that's the difference. But Facebook, it's going to be the same way as Pinterest, which is going to be, what do you like about this kitchen? What don't you like? Boom, boom, boom. You write all the information down, and then you tell them that's an X amount of dollar kitchen. Same thing as Pinterest, but just now you're using all your own stuff. And that's essentially how it works on Facebook. All right, if you're ready to step that stuff up, I'm gonna go ahead and put a video right here that's going to show you a more in-depth version of how to sell using the website. Watch this because it's way more in-depth and it'll walk you through step by step how to do it.